Hello, my name is Dr. Salman Tetik from Scholar School System. Today I'm going to deliver a lecture from the Module F, Introduction to Business Operations and Management. And on the screen you can see my email. You may send me email to ask any question about the lectures and about this video. And the first, I would like to give you the expected outcomes of this lecture. By the end of this lecture, as the participants, you are supposed to understand the supply chain from raw material process to consumer. And the second thing and the second output of this lecture, logistics and how businesses get the right goods in the right quantity at the right time to the right place. And the third outcome, production process, and what's the difference between the manufacturing and the service. We are going to discuss the characteristics of the manufacturer and also the service industry. And another output is going to be principles of the project management. What type of principles are involved in project management process? And the final output you are supposed to learn by the end of this lecture is quality control processes. What are the steps of quality control processes? All right. And as we did in each session, first, shortly, I would like to sum up the previous lecture's discussion. In our last session, we have discussed the definition of the business, and also we tried to explain why the business exists. And simply, the business was a profit-seeking activity to satisfy the human needs by providing goods and services within an economic system. And we can list several reasons for the existence of the business, such as profit-seeking, such as personal fulfillment, such as to have more income, and also as an entrepreneur to create a value for the society and for the economy, right? This kind of things. And also, what are the basic objectives of the business? Based on the functions of the business, we can create several objectives like production amount, sales amount, creativity, managerial performance, and of course the profitability of the organization, productivity of the business, and such kind of areas can be based to create objective for the organization. And how do the businesses establish their priorities and objectives? We have defined a SMART method to identify it, and the objectives should be specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and timely. So there should be a time boundary for setting the objectives. And what types of businesses are there? Mainly, we have defined two types of the businesses: private and the public. The businesses we have defined, and as you remember, the public and the businesses are not primarily seeking to make profit. On the other side, the business organizations or the private businesses are mainly seeking the making profit for their businesses. And also, finally, we have defined the modern business environment in our last session, and we have defined internal factors and external factors for the business. In internal factors, we have discussed all the processes of a business within the organizational structure, such as a procurement, sales, production, HRM, accounting, financial processes, etc. And all those factors can be managed and controlled and changed by the business. On the other side, we have some factors cannot be changed, cannot be directly influenced by the business, but the business is closely affected by those conditions. They are called as external factors: economic, social, political and technological factors in terms of the external factors we have discussed. So today, and first, by directing questions we are going to discuss. What does supply chain mean? I think we hear something about that. We remember something about the supply chain, but what exactly supply chain is going to be our main concern in this session. And what do you understand by logistics and why is it important? Sure, mostly the transportation comes to our mind in terms of the logistics, but logistics is more than the transportation actually. Yeah, it's an activity of the distribution, and it's the allocating the supplies or the raw materials, and also it ends by the final goods and services to distribution of the final outputs to the customers. So if you want to define the supply chain, we can say that a supply chain includes all activities related to distribution of a commodity from raw material to the consumer, and which also covers the procurement of raw materials and the components. In order to produce a tangible product, you are not using only one type of the raw material. We are also using some of the components, right? And sometimes you use the machines. And so there is a production line. In order to create this production line, you need to also have some components. So all these procurements are done as a result of, as a part of the supply chain management process. So it's more than acquiring all the raw materials. We are not only obtaining the raw materials in a supply chain process. So when you check this figure, you will see and the flow of a supply chain process. What do you see here? First, we acquire the raw materials, require raw materials. And there should be a facility to combine or to produce and to transform all those raw materials into a final output, final product. This is called producer or manufacturer, we call it. So after a process in a producer or manufacturer, these outputs are distributed to customers. But mostly the produced items are not sent directly to consumers. We have some intermediaries, warehouses, retailers, right? Whatever it is that you call it. It may be sometimes one channel or more than one channel to reach the customer from the producer. So in this figure, you see that a distributor takes the product to a retailer, and the retailer distributes or provides the goods to the final consumer. And this is a process. As I mentioned, you may increase the number of the intermediaries after the production process. It depends on the item, the type of the product you are producing. Okay. Sometimes consumers have chance to get their items directly from the producer or the manufacturer. For some agricultural products, for instance, you go to farmer to get milk and any kind of the farm, the item, right? So there is no an intermediary in that case. You directly collect your item from the producer or the manufacturer. Okay. Yep. What is the role of the logistics and how will it define the logistics in this whole process? And it's one of the good definition for the logistics, and also it states the importance of that logistics and how businesses get the right goods in the right quantity at the right time to right place, right? This is the function of also logistics. Logistics can be defined as the aspect of the supply chain that involves the flow of goods and services from the point of the production to the point of use by the end user. Actually, this is the customer, right? In order to provide the distribution of the final output products, we use the logistics as a system. And the aim of the logistic is to provide the goods and services arrive in the right place and on time is one of the most important concern. And if you have a mass production, so in that case, you need to be more careful on time issue. And of course, in the right order and the condition. And as you can see, if you remember from the figure, the main focus of all those activities are the customers. From the starting point, we are trying to get the last point. Last point is the consumer. And in terms of the business, if you remember the definition of the business, we are trying to satisfy the human needs. So as a part of this main purpose, we are trying to manage all this process effectively and efficiently. In order to manage efficiently this process, we need to have a good time management. Right? All right. And logistics requires various processes such as scheduling, planning, executing, and controlling costs to ensure efficient flow of resources. Yeah, as I mentioned, the efficiency. What's the meaning of the efficient? Actually, efficient means that in order to get the output or the performance, we should sacrifice the minimum amount of the resources that we have. The time is a type of the resource that we have. If we are talking about the efficiency in time management, it means that within a short period of time, we should be able to manage all these processes, and we should deliver our products and services on time to consumer. So in order to do this, first we need to have a schedule, we need to have a planning, we need to have an executing capability. On the other side, and it is one of the most popular concept and managerial ability in business world is about the managing the cost. Actually, yeah, you can do everything as it is used to be. What's the meaning of that? Yeah, you ensure the distribution of the products on time, you follow the schedule, you provide the right amount of the goods, but how efficiently you are doing this in terms of the cost. It may incur a high cost to your business. In that case, it will influence the profitability of your business. So the controlling cost or the cost management is one of the important action in this process. It also involves working process and the finished goods within the supply chain management. What's the meaning of that? We sometimes we sometimes buy the items to provide the manufacturing of the items, right? So it also concerned with the management of the semi-finished items. This is another concern of the supply chain management and logistics. Okay, this is the point that we came here now. Let's discuss the differences between services and manufacturing. In services, we obtain the intangible products. What's the meaning of that? Intangible and tangible. But in manufacturing, we obtain the tangible products. There are some items, products, we may not see them, we may not touch them, right? But we benefit, right? So this is called service, right? On the other side, so it costs. There is a value of doing this, right? This is service. We get the services from the bank, right? Sometimes we cannot see it, we cannot touch it, but we benefit it. But on the other side, we have tangible products such as the Toyota, for instance, the car manufacturing company. So you can see the final output of the company. What's that? Is the car. Yeah, you are able to see it. So this is a tangible product. Or when you go to a solicitor, what do you buy from a solicitor? a service you are buying that, even though you are not able to see what the service is. Yeah, it gives you a service, right? For instance, for the defense or something, or for legal issues or something, and the solicitor does not sell something to you like a car, right? This is intangible. And in manufacturing, customer is not involved in the process of manufacturing the car, right? Customer only gets the car from the agency or from the manufacturer, but the customer is not involved in manufacturing process. But in service, as I gave you an example, for instance, if you have a connection with a solicitor, if you need to get some services from the solicitor, you're always in a process, right? So you take the initiative in a process of the service. Or even in the bank, right? When you go to bank and you are involved in a process. And the homogeneity is each car is like the other produced to a given requirement. Very well. And if the Toyota is producing Toyota Corolla, for instance, yeah, there are different colors, but all the specifications for the same model is the same, right? It doesn't make any difference. But for the services, we cannot claim that, yeah, the same service is provided to the customers. Based on the customer, the service can be differentiated. And in my case, the solicitor will provide a different service. For another person's case, the solicitor is going to provide another type of the service. So it depends on the case which is provided by the solicitor to the customers. All right, and the principles of the project management. If you imagine the supply chain management process like a project management, because there is a scheduling, there is a cost management, there is process management. At all, when we regard all those conditions, it's like a project management. So what's the meaning of the project management? Actually, if there is an entire process to be managed with respect to each step of that, we call it as the project management, right? First, in terms of the principles of the project management, we need to have a precise schedule, day by day, timely, with respect to the activities to be done within the process. It should be definitely defined. Let's say that you are building a factory, for instance, right? What are the departments? What are the sections to be involved in that factory, right? At first, what is the step to be taken to start, right? The priorities, the steps, and the processes. With respect to the time, let's say that first, we need to have a ground. To build a ground takes 4 days, right? There is a certain time. It will start on Monday and on Wednesday, right? It's like that. Step by step, all the activities are defined in a schedule. And also, you need to know your limitations in a project. This can be limitation in terms of the financial resources. This can be limitation in terms of the human resources, whatever is that. It should be definitely defined as a part of your project management process, because you will take your actions with respect to those and the limitations within the project. And the last thing, as it is important in each field of the management of the organization, management of the project, doesn't matter. You need to have objectives. What are your objectives in this project? And as we have discussed, the objectives should be set with respect to the SMART methodology, right? It should be specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and time-bounded, right? This is going to be another thing. If you are able to do this with all the aspects, and it gives you a good project management process. Yeah, the final part of this session is about the quality control processes. First, maybe we need to define the quality, what the quality is. Quality, actually, we may produce different definitions for the quality, but simply we can say that the quality is about the product or service that the customer expects as he expects, right? Less than that. Actually, it means that the quality is the features or the characteristics of the product that fits the expectation of the customers, right? This is the quality, because this is sometimes perceptional. Some of the customers may expect different features and characteristics from the same type of the product. That's why sometimes the choice of the brands by the customers can be different, or the model of the products can be different. Some of the people likes to drive Toyota Corolla, some of them likes to drive Toyota Yaris, right? Why their expectations can be different. Younger people may expect different type of the products. Older people can expect different type of the products. It's about the quality perception. We name it as the quality you expect. All right, and so in order to keep the quality within the business and for your goods or services, whatever you produce, there should be a system to manage this. And mostly the manufacturing organizations are developing a department to control this process. And this is called, as a whole, in this process, our main issue is that if the produced item fits the expected standards or not. So it means that first we need to have some standards for the items for our business. What are the standards of the quality in this business? We need to identify it. And based on that standards, we will examine each produced item. This process is the quality control process. But in the literature, there is another concept, even though it is not the part of this session, slightly I want to talk about it, a total quality management process. It's believed that not only the manufacturing process or the relevant department is in charge of creating the quality, all the departments and all the people may be involved in creating a quality item, right? This is a total quality management. So, and if the item does not provide the expected standards and it is detected by some departments or by some people within the organization. So in order to keep the standards, quality standard within the organization, this is definitely required. So what do we have to do in an organization to manage this process? First, we need to have the different groups. First, planning process group. There should be a group of people to plan all those steps to keep the quality. And also there should be another group to assess the level of the quality for the items. And finally, after assuring and after standardizing the quality criteria, and there's a group of people, this is the final step, and this is mostly involved in production process. And at the end of the production process, the items are selected and controlled by a group of, this is control quality. The quality control is done at the end of the production process, but first we need to have a planning at the beginning, planning process, because it determines the standards, it determines the method to analyze the quality, and there's another group, execution, and mostly the supervisors or the managers are in charge of and implementing and executing those standards in their workplaces. All right. Yeah, and to sum up, then the supply chain starts from the procurement of the raw materials, and also the distribution starts until it ends by the distribution of the final output to the consumer, and we call it as a supply chain. And logistics and is about how businesses get the right goods in the right quantity at the right time to the right place. Actually, the right place is the customer, but it should be, there's also time management here, warehouse management, and also the raw material management are the part of, all of them are the parts of the logistics. And production, we mainly define and state the difference between the services and the manufacturing. On the one side, we have the tangible products are provided by the manufacturing organizations. On the other side, we have the intangible products are provided by the service industry and the services. And also the manufacturing organizations, the customers are not involved in manufacturing process, but in service. The customers have the chance to be involved in creating and providing the goods or the service. And this is the final thing that I want to mention. If you have any question, yeah, please send me an email. And thanks for the listening session. Have a nice day.